Trump lost and won. In the sense that he lost the war, but he is winning the diplomatic game. So Netanyahu has scored a self-goal. Will Netanyahu sabotage the whole thing? Well, he will try. But will he succeed? Israel's operation was called Roaring Lion. Well, I think we should correct it. The Snoring Lion. It has fallen asleep. It will fall asleep. India should correct its policy so far of getting too closer and closer to Israel. Dear friends, what a pleasure to be having a conversation with you. But to make it more of a conversation, I would request you to send me an email in case you have any questions. And my email ID is KP Fabian, small letters, @yahoo.com. That way, when we have a conversation, two minds put together, 1 + 1 is more than 2. Now, let us start with the Iran war, or that is what the media say, Iran war. I prefer to say the war on Iran, because that's what it is. Now, the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, has been signed digitally. Trump was keen on signing it, offline, so to say, on his birthday. And Pakistan tried, but Tehran didn't agree. Then Trump wanted to sign it digitally on his birthday, and Tehran agreed, which is good, because these are matters where one should accommodate each other, not to be unnecessarily difficult, you know what I mean? And of course, on the 19th, Friday, there will be a formal signing ceremony in Geneva. Vice President Vance will be there, and Iran speaker, he will be there. Now, regarding the text, we have to wait for the text to be released. There is a lot of speculation, and also statements are being made by both sides. Sometimes one gets the impression these statements are meant to disinform. In fact, talking about that, I am of the view, correct me if I am wrong, disinformation is deliberately spreading something not correct. Misinformation is, I am misinformed about something, mainly because of my own fault or because of the system. Now, if you total up misinformation and disinformation, well, it's always greater than information. That is our fate in this age of social media. I hold the view and submit it to you that Shakespeare always helps us to understand our situation, especially complex situations. Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 1. The three witches assemble. And the second witch says, when the hurly-burly is done, when the battle is lost and won. Now, I remember at college, the phrase, battle is lost and won. The lecturer had to explain it to us more than once. Now, I think that is an appropriate phrase to understand what has happened and what is happening. To my mind, Trump lost and won in the sense that he lost the war, but he is winning the diplomatic game. I will explain more later. In fact, I think we discussed this last time, but let me repeat. He escalated in order to de-escalate. Remember that Apache helicopter, which Trump said that it was shot down by IRGC, that is Iran, and that the crew had been saved, and that Iran will pay for it. Now, let's look at the facts as known. Iran has denied that it deliberately shot it down. And the psychology of the IRGC is such that if they had done it, they would have gone to town and boasted, we have brought down an Apache helicopter. And if they had done it, they would have seen where the crew was, where they fell, and they would have tried to capture the crew. Nothing happened. So in other words, it is my tentative view that the helicopter crashed not because of any action on the part of Iran, but Trump wanted to make use of it as an excuse to hit Iran. And he hit Iran for 2 days, escalated, so that he can de-escalate. Well, Iran lost and won. Iran has lost 3,600 human beings, starting with that 160 plus girls and the supreme leader and others, decapitated by Israel. And a lot of damage has been done to bridges, roads, and whatnot. But Iran is winning the diplomatic game, as we shall see. Now, Iran won more than Trump, and Iran lost less than Trump. Now, coming to Israel, it is my view that Israel lost and won. Israel, I am making a distinction between Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu because he has his personal interests. One, to postpone the corruption proceedings against him. Two, prolong the war till October election, when he can project himself as the war hero and get re-elected. So, and why do I say, and so Netanyahu lost and lost. Why do I say Israel has lost and won? Because this project of Netanyahu for the greater Israel, what is that project? According to Netanyahu's Liquid Party, in the Bible, Genesis, the first book, it is said that Jehovah promised the land between the Nile River in Egypt and the Euphrates River in Iraq, all that land to Abraham's descendants. Now, let us look in depth. Ishmael was Abraham's firstborn. He was the child of Hagar, H-A-G-A-R, an Egyptian maid in the house of Abraham. And Abraham's wife told him, listen, I cannot give you a child because, she was infertile. So let Hagar sleep with you and let there be a child. So Ishmael was the firstborn child. And as you know, Ishmael is supposed to be the patriarch of Arabs. So look at the map. From Nile to Euphrates, it is with the descendants of Abraham. The biblical prophecy is fulfilled. Not that I personally take such prophecies seriously. I am only pointing out the logical fallacy of the Greater Israel project. Now, Netanyahu spoke out about this agreement, or rather MOU, let's be correct, 20 hours after Trump signed it. 20 hours. Why? He didn't know what to say. Because it is obvious that Netanyahu has failed in whatever he wanted to do. He wanted a regime change. He wanted to destabilize and destroy Iran. In fact, the Iranian government, why do we say regime? It's a government. Regime is, rather pejorative. Of course, it's a theocracy which I don't like. It should be a democracy. Iran should move in that direction. That's a different matter. But that government has got stronger thanks to Netanyahu's decapitation of the paramount leader, supreme leader. So Netanyahu has scored a self-goal. So that is what we are looking at. Now, another thing is that Netanyahu said that Israel will continue to do whatever is necessary to make sure that Iran does not make a bomb. Absolutely, what shall I say, unconvincing argument. Because the same Netanyahu had said in June 2025 that he had taken action and for many, many years, Iran will not be able to make a bomb. Now, that was last year, not many, many years ago. Look at that. And Trump, what did he say? He had obliterated. So, basically, this enriched uranium most probably is lying beneath the earth, hundreds of feet beneath the earth. You know what I mean? So, the war enthusiastically started by Netanyahu on the 28th of February has come full circle and he has lost it. And people in Israel are asking Netanyahu, what have you done? Why did you do this? Why have you lost? And again, about Hezbollah. In 2024, Netanyahu had claimed that he had finished off Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been sending rockets. Okay, now let's look at the issues. Frozen assets. Now let me make it clear. Illegally frozen. The media do not say that because these assets belong to Iran and the United States had no legal or moral right to freeze them. Now, in this context, you must have seen there is a report from the Reuters and also from AP, Associated Press, that the UAE, United Arab Emirates, had released $3 billion to Iran. UAE was keeping $10 billion, out of which $3 billion had been released already. Of course, officially the UAE government denied it, but the Reuters and AP still carried the news even after the denial. Now, let's understand. The UAE had a change of mind. At one stage, UAE was getting closer and closer to Israel. And it even got, as I said last time, an iron dome from Israel before the hostilities, but the Iron Dome did not protect UAE. And at one stage, UAE got out of the OPEC, remember? And then, got angry with Saudi Arabia. And UAE told America, go and finish Iran. Finish, finish. Now, the same UAE sent a delegation to Tehran the other day and released this amount because UAE has recognized the fact that American base and Israeli military protection cannot protect the UAE. So that brings the next question. The GCC has now recognized American bases are of no use. Instead of giving protection, they attract attack. Oh, to go back for 1 second, UAE, since the 4th of May, Iran has not attacked UAE. The other day it attacked Kuwait and Bahrain and Jordan. Didn't touch UAE. Well, we know now why. Good. Now, question. What will be the new security order in the investigation? Well, Pakistan is very active. It has, as we know, a mutual defense treaty with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, India should get engaged, not by declarations, which are, what shall I say, one too many, but by serious work. And it is nice to see, for India, a likely rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and UAE, because we don't want to choose between the two. Now comes another question. Do you think Trump is going to get a better deal than Obama did? Well, my view is that he might get a better deal. But before that, let me recall, I had explained earlier that on the 27th of February, during the talks mediated by the Foreign Minister of Oman at the Embassy of Oman in Geneva, Iran had agreed to a better deal, meaning no enrichment, no stockpiling, downblending of the enriched uranium, and never ever to seek a nuclear weapon. So Trump had got a better deal, but then he chose to join Netanyahu. Why? We still do not know. Has it anything to do with Epstein file? Maybe. I'll talk more about it another time. But very briefly, if you look at the operations of Epstein, it is highly probable that a foreign agency, intelligence agency was behind it, and Mossad is the most likely one. Okay, so let's look at it more later. Now, another thing, as I have mentioned earlier, JCPOA agreed to, when Obama was president, made sure that Iran will never make a bomb. Why? Because IAEA had full access to Iran's nuclear activities. Now, what will be the future of US-Iran relations? It is highly possible that the 60-day talks will succeed. Iran will give a deal slightly better looking than Obama's. And there are indications that Trump is no longer going to insist on Iran's restricting its ballistic missiles development or banning Iran from assisting, giving support to what America calls its proxies, quote unquote. I think I had explained earlier that I have some difficulty with this word proxy, because you take Hezbollah, for example. According to America and Israel, Hezbollah is a proxy. But let's get history right. Hezbollah was established in 1982 when Israel invaded and occupied Lebanon, correct? And Hezbollah fought the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, and they had to vacate in 2000. Of course, Hezbollah was inspired by the Iranian Revolution, but that doesn't make them a proxy. One has to use English language correctly. So, it is highly likely that US-Iran relations will be normalized. Trump has already referred to some $300 billion reconstruction and all that to Financial Times. Of course, the United States government is not going to invest, but Trump is saying that US companies may invest. Well, US companies will invest only if the relations between Iran and United States are good. Will Netanyahu sabotage the whole thing? Well, he will try. But will he succeed? I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Because everybody says the IDF is invincible. I agree. The IDF is invincible. But why? The IDF is invincible because the military support in terms of arms and technology given by the United States, because of the diplomatic protection given by the United States. Now remove that, the IDF ceases to be invincible. So if Trump chooses, he can make Netanyahu behave. India should welcome the agreement, and I was glad to see that our Prime Minister had tweeted. Only thing is that, he tweeted at 12:50 p.m. IST. Now, at 4:30 a.m., may I repeat, 4:30 a.m., I had seen on Al Jazeera tweets by President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer welcoming the agreement. 4:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. That means about midnight their time, Paris and London, which means their foreign office works 24/7. Ours? Well, let me not comment. And India should welcome this agreement also because, we get 40% of our crude from there, 60% of the LNG, and 90% of LPG. India should correct its policy so far of getting too closer and closer to Israel. And, India should restore its traditional policy of support for the Palestinian cause and opposition to Israeli aggression. You see, and all that can be done. And another thing is that you read about, we are changing the topic. The Bangladesh Prime Minister's advisor, he's advisor for policy and strategic affairs and for information and broadcasting, very crucial areas. His name is Dr. Sahed Ur Rahman. Well, yesterday he came to Delhi, and at the airport he was not permitted to come in. They held him up for a long time. Apparently, after holding him up for 2 hours or so, they said they would make an exception and he can come in now. Now, let me tell you what happened. The Bangladesh High Commissioner had gone to receive him, and then our immigration people said they had to check something, and the Bangladesh High Commissioner then, because of the delay, called up MEA, the Joint Secretary in charge of Bangladesh, and sought assistance. Didn't work. And the immigration people said that, there is something on record that this Dr. Rahman had said something against India some time back. Now, let's get it right. He did say something against India some time back. But now he is in office. We have to deal with him. Are we going to settle the matter of what he did 3 years ago, 2 years ago? No, that is not diplomacy. Diplomacy is dealing with those who are in office. And our acting High Commissioner was summoned in Dhaka, I think yesterday. And our new High Commissioner designate, he said something like, we are all the same people. And there are rallies of protest in Bangladesh. Now, Let me tell you, I was Deputy High Commissioner in Sri Lanka. I would have never said in Sri Lanka we are the same people because that they do not like. Now, this diplomat doesn't start by saying what the host country people do not want to hear. This is diplomacy. Now, let us conclude a couple of points. As I said, if the US-Iran MOU works out, it will be great for India. We can go back to our Chabahar project where we have invested more than $600 million and so many years of work. And also the North-South corridor. Okay? So it will be big for us. Now move on. I want to tell you something about the Janata Cockroach Party. Now, can it make a difference? I believe it can, in the sense that democracy implies an intelligent electorate. So when a candidate comes to you seeking your vote, if the candidate is seeking re-election, you should ask the question, hey, what have you done for me during your last term? What is your policy on this? What's your policy on that? And then only decide whether to vote for him or her. It should not be a monologue, The candidate gives you more promises which he or she might have given earlier. Okay? So, intelligent electorate. So, I'm saying intelligent electorate. I'm not saying, for one party or against another party. Intelligent electorate. Now, will there be something like what happened in Bangladesh and Nepal by Generation Z? I don't think so. Because we do things peacefully, and the best way of doing things peacefully is to use one's voting power. Now, one more point. President Trump called it epic fury, his operation against Iran. Well, Shakespeare comes to our rescue. Once again, Macbeth. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. The epic fury, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And Israel's operation was called Roaring Lion. Well, I think we should correct it. The Snoring Lion. It has fallen asleep. It will fall asleep. Now, the last point. I know an Italian girl who has been doing Bharatanatyam for the last 20 years. She is in Chennai. It has a dream as a young girl to come to India, learn Bharatanatyam. She has done her master's in Bharatanatyam from a college in Chennai. Now she wants to do a PhD, for which she needs extension of her visa by a few weeks. And she went to their Ferraro. They are refusing. They said no. And they are asking her to produce a document called a certificate of good conduct from her college. But she has left the college, and with a transfer certificate, the college won't give it. So they are asking her to produce a document which cannot exist. Moreover, how illogical a Ferraro can be? She produced a document of good conduct given by that college. That document is valid till 26th of November, 2026. And the Ferraro says, no, give us a fresh document. In other words, let's get it right. The IPS officer heading the Ferraro in Chennai wants to undermine, I repeat, undermine the policy of Prime Minister Modi, who had a melodious meeting with Prime Minister Melanie. She even used the word parishram, a Hindi word, in her speech. And I tell you, she stole our heart by saying that. And to think that a policeman in Chennai can undermine Prime Minister Modi's policy of deepening and strengthening relations with India, with Italy. Well, let us hope Home Ministry, Honorable Amit Shah's office is listening to this podcast or video and will get in touch with SW News and do something about it. Thank you, dear listeners, for listening to me as usual with exceptional grace. And I do look forward to your emails. Bye bye.